Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, pop culture, social media, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. If this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys here and encourage you to click on that subscribe button below the video or the icon you see there in the corner of the screen if you're on YouTube. That way you guys will have all the latest on the Friday Vlogs as well as content here on the channel. This week in gaming news, we received the Sid Meier's Civilization 6 Season Pass release, which introduces 2 new civilizations for Civ, and the Apocalyptic mode, which introduces some new events, weather events and such in the game. And we got some new units and just a host of new features to carry us through the rest of this year and into next year. If you guys want more information about that in particular, I'll leave a link for you down below this video. And of course, this week, kind of took it easy on Monday with it being Memorial Day, but nonetheless, I do plan on probably publishing a plunder video where we went out and got the new Mud Dropper weapon that drops. It's the Easter egg there in Call of Duty. But nonetheless, guys, you can check it out up here in the top right-hand corner, and you'll probably find it quite enjoyable. SpaceX was set to launch on Wednesday, but due to inclement weather, it was unable to send the 2 astronauts into space. Now, this will be the first time that we have sent astronauts into space, at least in the last 9 years. And of course, their destination was the International Space Station up there, getting everything ready for their visit. But it looks like it's going to be delayed until Saturday. But nonetheless, it was kind of some lighter news to discuss with you guys this week because we've had a lot going on. Of course, what happened in the news recently just across the United States. We're still dealing with the pandemic and just other activities that are going on. But nonetheless, it was kind of nice to take a little bit of a break, have everyone kind of focus on this interesting and fun launch. And it is the first time that NASA is kind of paired up with a private company. That company, of course, SpaceX, being owned by Elon Musk, who has kind of always been in the social media environment for quite some time, but more specifically his most recent post as he wanted to open up Tesla, his company, of course, there in California, and he was getting some pushback and resistance from the authorities, city council, individuals there in his area. And of course, he tweeted out about taking the red pill, which of course is the signal to the progressives and the left and other individuals that taking the red pill just kind of means that you are now enlightened and awakened to the situations, circumstances, and political maneuverings that are going on, particularly those maneuverings from the left. And it's time to kind of rein yourself in and understand where you have been misled, perhaps. But nonetheless, interesting news this week as far as that. It's kind of a nice little distraction considering all the pandemic and things that were going on even across the world. But nonetheless, guys, I'll leave some links for you down there below this video. Speaking of business openings during the pandemic and or the return of reopening businesses throughout the United States, I was finally able to make it to the barber and get a haircut, which was very refreshing. I'm sure you guys were able to tell immediately as the video came up that something was a little different. But nonetheless, there are still people out there that have not been able to make it to any of the particular places they would normally go, like a barbershop or a salon or other areas that they would typically visit. As a matter of fact, some of my gaming buddies in my gaming guild still have not been able to go and get a haircut yet. Some of them are in Canada, some of them are here, throughout the United States. But nonetheless, it was kind of interesting, guys, just to be able to get out and go get a nice fresh haircut. I've wanted one for now 2.5 months, probably the longest I think I've ever gone without a haircut. But nonetheless, it just seems kind of interesting that a haircut would make into the video as part of a topic. But it's just interesting times that we live in right now, where just some of the simple things that we can sometimes just take for granted, just mentioning, hey, I'm going to go get a haircut, would probably not even come up in a conversation. But here we are talking about something as simple and innocuous as getting a haircut. But it was very refreshing. Of course, they did have to follow a lot of procedures there at the barbershop. They have to wash each of the aprons after they're off of a customer. They have to wipe down the chairs after every customer. The barbers do have to wear masks when they're cutting hair. So it was just kind of interesting to see all the nuances. They've got the chairs and everything inside were all sectioned off. I didn't have to make an appointment or anything like that. I could just do a walk-in. None of us were required to wear masks or gloves or anything while we were at the barbershop. Now, after I left the barbershop, I went to the grocery store, and nearly everybody in the grocery store were wearing masks and even gloves. And what's interesting is when this first all started, I was actually wearing masks and gloves when I would go and do things. But last Friday I had to go to the bank, and of course right at that time it was only the drive-thrus that were open. And as of this week on Tuesday, in our state and in our city, at least where I live, they are now opening the lobbies to banks. Now, some of the restaurants are open, but they're still just doing takeout. They're not, doing seated dining. But I think some restaurants are now doing seated dining because we were able to do that here in Georgia. Also, some of the retail stores are starting to open as well. I've not been to any of the other retail stores myself, say for example like Target or something like that, or there's a store that my mother likes to go to called Steinmart. I haven't talked to her about what all was going on in there, but I think she has actually gone there as well. So it's just kind of interesting to see how things are starting to open up. And then, of course, on this week was it Sunday, we had the first NASCAR race with no fans, which was kind of interesting to see. But nonetheless, guys, that was kind of just my experience for this week to be able to go and get a haircut. It was quite refreshing, so I'm enjoying it a great deal. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. I want to thank all you guys for your continued participation here. Of course, your likes, your shares, and your comments all make the channel grow, and it has been interesting these last few weeks how there has been more growth and more views and stuff. So I want to thank all you guys for that, of course. And if you are following this on DTube and or BitChute, I would encourage you guys to give me a follow and or a subscribe there as well. And of course, appearing right there on the screen, that would be the channel icon that you guys can click on if you haven't subscribed just yet, and you should, as well as notifications. That way you guys will know when there is content here on the channel, like when I did the community post the other day. But nonetheless, guys, I want to thank all of you for your continued support. It's always appreciated, and I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.